Hey guys, welcome back to today's video. Today is Monday, October 12th, 2020, and today I'm going to be talking about third-party candidates and their impact, or lack thereof, on the 2020 presidential race. So we're actually going to be focusing on the impact of what we saw as pretty much not necessarily spoiling. I don't think that's the correct term for it. People do have the right to exercise their right to vote for whichever candidate that they want, but there were certain regions of the country where these candidates did as good as their 2016 numbers, Jill Stein and Gary Johnson. Now, they polled nationally 5% for the Libertarian Party and 2% for the Green Party. That actually ended up being 1% for the Green Party and 3% for the Libertarian Party, but we're going to take a look at the states where they pretty much performed on polling average. Now, I have the 2020 names, Joe Jorgensen and also Howie Hawkins, but looking at both of these candidates, I don't necessarily think that we're going to see too much of an impact on this election. Now, on your screen are the Green Party states from 2016 where they received 2% of the vote or more. That's just correlating with the general election numbers that they were expected to get. For the Libertarian Party, however, there were a lot more states that, were won by 5% or more, or not won by, sorry, where they received 5% or more of the vote. New Mexico was actually the most solid state for Gary Johnson. He received roughly 9% of the vote there. It actually brought Hillary Clinton down to a plurality, despite winning the state by 8%. But looking at a lot of these libertarian areas, someone does have to ask the question, well, if these libertarian voters in 2016 don't have a viable option in 2020 that's exactly as well known as Gary Johnson, there isn't really even being a push for Jorgensen to get on the debate stage. People are going to ask, if I'm not voting for the Libertarian Party this time around, am I voting for Trump or am I voting for Joe Biden? And I think that looking at the electoral map as it stands today, the Democratic Party should be very happy that there isn't as big of an impact of third-party votes as 2016. Because, yes, the Green Party only received 20 electoral votes in terms of states that they received on par or better with their national polling numbers. But Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania are three states that the Democratic Party really highlighted the past 4 years, mainly because of the fact that they narrowly lost it, but also the Green Party received more votes than the margin of victory for Donald Trump. Now, there's no reason to assume that all of those Green Party voters would have automatically voted for Hillary Clinton or even voted at all had Jill Stein not been on the ballot. And I'm not here to try to blame Green Party voters that they are somehow responsible for the 2016 election. 2016 election, I think, is on a number of factors, and I think it ultimately boils down to just the final 2 weeks of the election campaign. And yes, Hillary Clinton was very unpopular, and the Democratic Party should have really recognized that, especially in these three states. But I do think that when we're looking at the Green Party's impact on this region of the country, you do have to realize that, that those voters, had they gone to Hillary Clinton, we would be in an entirely different situation. But that also brings up the question, what if Gary Johnson was not in the race? He got more of the vote than the Green Party in these three states. If Gary Johnson was not in the race, what would that have done for Donald Trump? Well, to be completely honest with you, it probably would have helped Donald Trump's numbers. It would have boosted him to a victory regardless. So I'm not here to vote shame or try to say that this is the results of Green Party voters, but I do want to assess the impact of a possibility where the Green Party could be taking away votes from the Democratic Party. And ultimately, there were definitely some Green Party voters that probably weren't going to vote if Jill Stein was not on the ballot, or, were really just for Bernie Sanders, Bernie or bust type voters who just thought Hillary Clinton was going to win, so they voted for the Green Party, whatever it was. This election, I think that the stakes are much higher for the Democratic Party, and they really are making every effort to win over those Green Party voters. When we're looking at these battleground states, look at the map. The states that went to that gave Gary Johnson 5% or more of the vote, and then look at the states that gave Jill Stein 2% or more of the vote. No swing states. The only swing states on the Gary Johnson map are Colorado and I guess you could say New Mexico. But realistically, we probably wouldn't have seen too much change in terms of the outcome if these candidates were not in the race. So even more so this election, I think that they are completely inconsequential. We probably will see them do worse than 1% in both sides. I mean, both parties, they shined in 2016. Looking at the general election data, we can take a look at the percentage. Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump never hit 50%. In Hillary Clinton's peak, she hit 46.2%. Today, on the four-way average, Joe Biden leads with 52% of the vote. But let's take a flashback. I mean, the Green Party and the Libertarian Party were doing very well. At a point in time, the Green Party had roughly 5% of the national vote, and at the peak for the Libertarians, they had roughly 8-9%. It was a very good period of time for the Libertarian Party and third-party candidates all around, just because of how unpopular Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump were. But this election, the same cannot be said. Let's take a look at the favorability ratings for Donald Trump and Joe Biden. So Joe Biden actually is, it's very weird. Joe Biden is plus 6.9. He's a presidential candidate who is approved of. That is rarely heard of. And the fact that Biden is plus 6.9 where Trump is negative 11, it's not good whatsoever. Especially after that first debate, Biden experienced a bump going from plus 15.9 over Trump to actually plus 18.2. He has done very well. I mean, Biden at a certain point in time was underwater in terms of his approval. Was underwater by 6%. Then the DNC happened and his approval rating went up, and now he's approved of by plus 7%. Donald Trump remains in the negative double digits, has not overcome that since April of 2020. So this election is nowhere near 2016, and looking at the numbers, you can see clearly that the third-party voters had a much bigger group than what they have today. And even in the four-way ratings, Biden leads by a much better amount than Hillary Clinton. Biden's up by 9, she was up by 3. That's a 6-point shift in 4 years. And if we're looking at these states, again, no real swing states. I guess you could say Colorado, but it really didn't change the outcome of it too much. All in all, I don't think that third-party candidates are going to have too big of an impact on this election. Now, there are a number of Democrats who are saying if you live in a swing state, every vote against Trump matters. And I think that's true. I think that your vote in my home state of Maryland probably won't, the Democratic Party probably won't be broken because you voted for the Green Party. But if there is that mentality amongst even a small group of people, and the Democrats really hate small numbers, look at the 2016 election results that say, you know what, I don't like Joe Biden, I'm going to vote for a Green Party candidate. Not to say that they are in any way responsible for a Donald Trump re-election. They did exercise their right to vote, but the Democratic Party likely will try to hold a lot against them. And they are doing everything they can for outreach. I mean, when we're looking at the people who are reaching out to Green Party voters and trying to draw the comparisons between, or not necessarily comparisons, trying to convince more left-leaning voters that, Joe Biden is a compromise and he's the only candidate who can beat Trump. We all heard that before in 2016. They're going to have to do something a little bit different than that. But I really do think that the stakes of this election have really brought down the possibility of third-party candidates thriving. Why? Because in 2016, it was more so I didn't like either candidate. Maybe I do want to continue the Obama legacy. Maybe I don't. I'm not really going to be impacted too much. Or maybe I want to vote for someone that's more left-wing than Hillary Clinton. But they knew that their vote wouldn't count for Clinton unless they were doing ranked choice voting, which doesn't even get implemented for a presidential election until this time. So then you look at the election now. Why do we see, the Green Party candidates never, and the Libertarian Party candidate never really was able to go over 3%. Why is it so close right now? Probably because of the Supreme Court. Probably because of all of the things that the Democratic Party and the Republican Party has been advocating for the past 4 years. The stakes of this election are nowhere near in comparison for the Democratic Party or left-wing voters around this country compared to where they were in 2016. Nowhere near. The Supreme Court, which includes women's rights, abortion, LGBT rights, gay marriage, gun control, talking about suing manufacturers, whatever we talk about, whatever is important to a lot of people, could very well get legislation passed. But if the Supreme Court 6-3, almost always it will be struck down. Forget Medicare for all under a 6-3 Supreme Court. That just wouldn't happen. It wouldn't even happen under a 5-4 Supreme Court, which brings up the question of, will the Democrats court pack? We will see. But there's a reason why Howie Hawkins is not getting as much traction as Jill Stein. You can't say, just because she ran in 2012, that all of a sudden made her known for 2016. The election is drastically different. There's a lot more at stake, and people hated Hillary Clinton. We see now they like, if not love, Joe Biden. Same cannot be said for Donald Trump. Now, in terms of the Libertarian Party voters, in 2016, data showed that roughly 75% of those Libertarian Party voters would have voted for Donald Trump if Gary Johnson was not on the ballot. Well, now, new polls from 2016 third-party voters say 75% of them say they would vote for Biden this time around. So that's a pretty significant shift in favor of the Democratic Party. And as we look at these battleground states, not battleground states, states where the third-party candidates really made at least somewhat of an impact compared to their national numbers, to be honest, it doesn't sway much. And we probably won't see third-party candidates make too big of an impact on this election. Realistically, they're barely making it onto the polling page. Look at this. You can see all of the polls ever taken with four-way candidates all on one screen. Why? Because they don't do them. Practically a third of these polls are from CNBC Change Research. The rest from ABC News, Washington Post. All in all, and JTN, RMG Research. Looking at these numbers, yes, it's good for Biden, but realistically, there's a reason why these third-party candidates are barely getting any polling and are averaging 1% compared to 2016, which was 2%. This election is nowhere near 2016 in terms of the stakes and in terms of the candidates themselves, which is why I do think that despite, the Green Party having 4 states where they did better than the national numbers or in terms of what they were expected to get, and then the Libertarians, 39 electoral votes on top of that, no real swing states except for Colorado and maybe, I guess you could say, Maine or New Mexico. But other than that, there wasn't really that big of an impact from 2016 on this election, and I could not really imagine a bigger impact or even an impact at all. There's a reason why we always look at the two-way race, because this is not 2016. This is a two-way race, and nobody really is going to be talking about third-party candidates. Unfortunately for them, their time to shine was 2016. They're going to have to wait till a presidential year where both candidates are severely disliked. What we see today is that just simply is not true. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. Make sure to comment down suggestions below. Subscribe on the left if you haven't already, and check out the Instagram and Twitter. At the bottom left of the screen, there's also a Discord link for you to go ahead and join. On the screen, there's a video you can watch and then a playlist for my 2020 election videos. I apologize for getting this video out so late. Again, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you all tomorrow.